Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Tales from the Fandom. Today, I am joined by my second guest that I have seen and got to interact with on the channel that you might know as Twitch. A lot of cool people get to hang out there, play video games, do a lot of fun stuff, and I am so happy to have Cardia of the Cardia Plays channel here to talk to me about a number of different things. Cardia, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man.
It has been an absolute pleasure getting to watch you. We were talking just a few minutes ago, and you just wrapped up a almost 240-hour eventual, over the course of months stream of the Pathfinder Kingmaker game.
Yeah, definitely a long time.
More power to you. I know whenever I eventually, randomly stream my games, I'm like, okay, I can get 2 hours or 3 hours into this game and then I'm done. And then you're like, we're going to finish this game even if it takes 12 hours.
That's exactly that's a quote, 2019. That's exactly what I said. We're going to do this. We're going to finish this. And then my my dumb self went through because they read the endings. One of the characters reading the actual textbook endings rather than showing a finale, and I accidentally skipped the romance that I had, and and I was so bummed. So I tried to beat it again, and so I didn't skip my characters. Like the one character that I romanced, I wanted to see his outcome. It was so bad.
Goodness. Oh man. Now, I guess my first question is for video games in general. Did you start playing at a young age? What was your first system or memory of video games?
Oh, the Sega Genesis. That's my it was my first, and I loved it. And I played the Lion King game on Sega. I was terrible at Sonic. I've always been terrible at platformers. But that's why I was really bad at the Lion King one, because I got to that graveyard scene and then never got past it. But yeah, the Lion King and Sonic, and then I moved to buying the Game Boy with my birthday money was one of my, still to this day, one of my most cherished accomplishments. So played Pokemon Red version specifically on my purple see-through Game Boy, and later on I got the PlayStation 2 because my dad wanted to play on it, so I got to play on it. And it was games like Baldur's Gate that I got to play on PlayStation. Eventually Final Fantasy, in my high school years. I didn't really play a whole lot until my adulthood. So I have been backtracking a lot of the games that I really should have been playing growing up. By now I'm playing Knights of the Old Republic, playing Baldur's Gate on the PC, which I played briefly growing up, games like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Caesar 3, and then Baldur's Gate. I played them briefly, but never beat them. It wasn't until, I said, my adult life that I really started to branch out in all of these amazing games.
That is it's not for my background, Nintendo, the original Nintendo, and from there on, but it's same as you as far as the games where you missed out on, because when we had the kids, there was all these incredible games coming out, and I missed them. I missed Dragon Age and Mass Effect.
Yeah, me too.
And it's all these games that people are like, oh man, you really should go back and play them. And now I'm in the stage of life of I don't even have the time to put 2 hours in. I tried to play Final Fantasy X recently on the PS4 or whatever, and I'm trying to play it, and the kids are like, we want the TV, we want to do our stuff, and I said, I can't even find the save point, because they're so spread out. You got to invest 2 or 3 hours, and I'm like,
because they have the saving spheres or whatever.
Yeah. And it's just so I've kind of just they get if they want to play on the PlayStation, that's cool. I've got games that are still in shrink wrap that I haven't broken open yet. That just sit there like Uncharted.
That is a gamer foul.
And Tomb Raider, and and I've been playing games on the PC because that way, at least, hopefully, I can save rather quickly versus
Mm.
waiting for save spots. But yeah, there's been so many great games. It's just there's not enough time in the day, and I think I've missed the window on some of them.
No, well, what bums me out the most about that is they're not available to you other than on the original console. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance is an amazing example of that. I played that when I was in middle school and we loved the mess out of it. We played it so many times and we even unlocked Rist. So it was just one of those things that we just wanted to play like a million and 100 times. But now as an adult, you go back and you play the games that you used to play and you catch on to a whole bunch more when you're an adult than you did when you were a kid because you had very little attention span. But a lot of these games you can't even play other than on the console that it came on. So it sucks because those are the games that sometimes you really wanna play and you really missed out on. But I'm sure there's a way that you can still find it. I mean, I'm sure there's a way, if you get what I mean.
Oh yeah,
There's a way.
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
Yeah, little the little elbow notion, like you know.
Mhm.
What was your one of your like favorite games growing up? Like if you look back on your cherished memories, like because I have several where I'm like I think back and I'm like those games I love those games because of like sleepovers or who I was with or story and like
Yeah.
so what was your one of like some of your favorite games growing up?
Well, what stuck out would you consider, like, middle school and high school still growing up?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Final Fantasy X, definitely. And then, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 1 and 2. Yeah, those stuck out to me the most. Final Fantasy VII was up there. I played Final Fantasy X way more, way more.
Yeah, I love Final Fantasy X. I played that in let's see here, the end years of college.
No kidding.
And there's a number of scenes where you're like, "Oh man, this is great." But I have to say like Yuna's wedding scene
Oh,
is so beautiful and then you have like everyone coming down on those like lines from the airship, but it's
mm.
just that whole like it's so dramatic and what's going on and then Yuna's like, "I'm going to fall off the building." And
And then she, like, calls her Aeon and, like, flies her away. It's just,
yep,
oh,
so good.
it's so good. Like, Kamari, I loved personally, I loved the score too. Like, there's this one section before you got to the Great Plains where you can listen to all of the tracks of the game.
Mhm. Yep.
And I would sit there doing my homework. I would go there to that spot so I could just listen to like Via Purifico or the Song of the Mountain, I think it's called, where it's where you meet Kamari's tribe and it's
Mhm. Yep.
yeah, I listened to that shit for hours.
Yeah, I bought any of the soundtracks that came out for Final Fantasy X. At some point, I had them all, and oh man, like even that opening song where it's like that heavy metal guitar like
Ah,
is
another
rocking, and the
world
like that
awaits
voice
you.
is.
You
Yeah, I used to
go.
sing that in the car all the time. It's like
Really?
totally ridiculous, but it's just you get into it. It's
Mhm.
totally different from any Final Fantasy that you had played like with that kind of music to kick things off.
Right, and believe it or not, Squaresoft, that was one of their, last Final Fantasies. Squaresoft, they became Square Enix later on because of the
Hmm.
merger, and, that's what another reason why I liked Kingdom Hearts and, Final Fantasy 12 is because those were, like, the last games made by Squaresoft, and, it was kind of a game where they transferred from having more CGI relate instead of like fixed backgrounds. They wanted to do fewer musical scores by synthesizer. Nobuo Uematsu was the one that was in charge of a lot of the music in Final Fantasy. But Final Fantasy X, they started to go a different direction in so many different things, and that's what led to the merger with Enix. And I think it's kind of indicative in so many different ways in Final Fantasy X that the direction was changing. So that's when, like, you get rid of Sin, and Sin is kind of a representation of tradition and old times, and they're destroying it ultimately. So I think that's kind of neat how they used real life for their art form in Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've been a fan of Final Fantasy since like the Nintendo days. And like my favorite memory is Final Fantasy 2, which is like in Japanese is the 4, just
Mhm.
because like we'd play it at sleepovers, and then there'd be like this great story that you're invested in, and oh my gosh, like I just got betrayed, and
Yeah.
how am I going to make it? And then he was under mind control the whole time, and like it's stories like that. And I know that we have talked on your Twitch channel about like what like the games that I'm into, like role playing games or like the strategy games, and it's just I just love it for that story. I love having just throw it all at me, give me all the music, get me.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm all about too. A game isn't anything without a good story.
Exactly. Like I mean, I can shoot things till the end of time, but if you're not giving me a story, why am I shooting?
What's the point? Now there are some games that are just straight on that principle that don't need a story, but that like games like Left 4 Dead or even Overwatch now, they just basically jump you into the game with no backstory, no information. There's games that like if you want to play Call of Duty multiplayer, like you can do that. You don't even have to play the campaign. You know what you're getting into with games like that. If there is a game that sells me a story that's intended, oh yeah, there's the campaign and that is like Halo. There is a multiplayer aspect, but the main thing about Halo is campaign. The main thing about Baldur's Gate is campaign story. If you don't have a good story, you don't have a good game.
There you go, straight from Cardia. If you don't have a good story, you don't have a good game. Boom.
Unless that's what you're selling. Like if you're selling the absence of a story, that's I think the exception.
Insert your own story here.
Exactly. There's a lot of speculation around the lore behind Overwatch for that reason. They just launch you into a story, and that's why I like games like Pathfinders because you can make your own story, which is cool. You can make it as in depth as you want, and you can have it as empty as you'd like as well.
Exactly. What are some of your games that you're enjoying now? Like, what are some of your favorites that you'd be like, oh, you need to check this out?
Witcher, we're playing now. Knights of the Old Republic. I still haven't beaten Dead Space 2, but that is one game I recommend everybody do. Is Dead Space. Very underrated game.
What is it about Dead Space that makes you say, people need to try it out? Just was it something that people overlooked or just something else?
Well, I think it may have been overlooked because of how non well known Visceral is. But I looked at it and like, oh my god, it's like scary Star Wars. And one of my the people that we hang out with on Twitch, he donated it, and I'm like, damn, now I'm gonna have to deal with scary games because I never played scary games. I never played Resident Evil, never played nothing. I watched Resident Evil and I would pee my pants. It was that bad. I would just be so scared no matter what. I would be scared at like Ferris wheels. I was just a very scared kid. So I would play like cartoonish stuff like Kingdom Hearts, but the main reason why I overlooked is because I'm just like super scaredy pants. But when I started playing it, I felt the adrenaline and the music. It really puts you it immerses.
Immerses, yeah.
Yeah, okay. You're really immersed in the atmosphere and the fear. I mean, he's just an engineer, and that's the story behind Dead Space is he's just an engineer, so he's not meant to shoot all of these enemies. He's not good at combat. He's an engineer. That's it. And so you really feel just as inept as the character does. So whenever you get attacked, you're just kind of freaking out, and it's just a really awesome experience. And I think because of that, I was able to play other scary games, whereas I hadn't been able to before.
And I have to say, I think one of the first streams that I sat down and got to really enjoy like watching and interacting with you was your playthrough of Resident Evil 2.
Yo, if it weren't for Dead Space, I wouldn't have played Resident Evil 2 because I'm scared. So I'm glad that you had fun. It was a lot of fun playing that game. It was a
I
great
mean,
game, right?
it was a great game. I'm not good with like those kind of actiony adventure kind of games, so I tend to stay away from them. And then I stay away from horror games because I totally super scaredy person. I don't really watch like if I watch a horror movie, it's during the day, and I follow it up with something that's funny and lighthearted.
Always, right? That's me
So
too, 100%.
I can't watch it at night. I refuse to watch. I won't like. I remember going with my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, to see like a PG-13 scary movie, but it's at night, and it's like, no, I don't want to do that, but we're having to go to it. And it's like, I don't want to go,
You're,
but
like, telling your wife, I can't
yeah, like
protect you. I'm not
I
adequate right now."
yeah, like and she's like she has her scary movie side to her, but that's not like all the time. So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, I'm not a scary game person. I'm not a action adventure person. But the way that you like did it with playing it, but then also where you integrated like sounds connected to what people were doing, is like that made it really fun.
You're talking about, like, the way that I made the alerts?
Yeah, the alerts where it's like, oh, this big footsteps is coming to you, and
Oh, you
yeah.
guys totally trolled me. It was a mistake. Like, everybody was making cheers with the footsteps, so I'm like, "Ah!"
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's definitely been fun. And with Dead Space, I know there's like one stage where you kept trying to, I think you kept getting burned by like after like at some point you just kept is the same spot where you're like, I don't know what to do. Like you're trying to push something and getting burned, and then you're dying and you're like, ah.
That's right. I think it was, I think I know what you're talking about 'cause, the big guy, the regenerative guy was walking around, and I had to put him behind the rockets of the tram
Yes.
that we were supposed to take. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, "Please just help me, like, Wikipedia, I need you." So, because you had to put him behind the rockets, but you had to stun him while positioned behind the rockets because there was no other way to get rid of him because he would just regenerate had you normally damaged him because 'cause he'll just regenerate. So, I used rockets of this tram, and finally I got rid of him. He just chased you all over the place. There was this one time that he closed me in because there was walls that you had to move, and, it accessed this other part of, like, a living quarters,
Hmm.
and you go to the corner, then you see, like, a girl off herself because the whole dementia thing that they had was really weird. The story's amazing, though. So, you see this woman, kill herself, and then you hear clanging, and then regenerative guy shows up behind you, and the first time I was like crying because I'm like, oh, what do I do, and then shaking, and my heart rate was like going bananas. So we went to the other area to try and like circumvent him, and I kept freezing him, but trying to freeze him, and I kept missing him. So I was running out of that stat, and I was trying to move things at the same time, and he got frozen right where I was supposed to move the barriers. So he was locked in with me now. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't go past because I can't move. So I have to wait for him to be unfrozen. I have to go outside of the barriers, and he needs to follow me. And it just didn't work out because he kept smacking me anytime that I tried to walk past him. And it was I was definitely like low key crying a little bit. It was so bad.
Oh, so fun. Everyone needs to go. I just go say it now. Everyone needs to go follow Cardia on Twitch and hit that notification icon so that way you're notified. So that way when she's playing, you can know and you can hang out and watch because it's fun.
Thanks. It's been awesome having you hanging out with us so many times and being so interactive. It makes playing games way more fun, honestly.
Well, I try. One of the things that you wanted to talk about, which is really interesting to me as far as just the thematic subject, especially since it's with video games, and I'm going to read this here so that way I don't screw it up. Um, you want to talk about the impact on popularity versus production companies on the creative process of game making, such as things like companies that destroyed the makers of like Baldur's Gate and Fallout and Interplay and stuff like that.
Definitely. Because I think, an example, a more recent example, when Sonic was posted, they're now delaying it because everyone was saying how ridiculous he looked. So that's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm talking about. Is there's popularity, there's popular opinion. Popular opinion can affect a game. Production companies affect a game, and it sometimes makes or breaks the game and the developing company that's at the mercy of both.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So, I guess where do you see it like s- I guess in your perspective, where did it start as far as like when you look back on it, where do you think it started or the first signs of it to you?
well, I would say like mid 80s. They started making games and it started picking up, and then the original Nintendo came out, and in 1985 was like a huge year for console games. And then it just died down and picked back up like early 90s, where you would have like a lot of arcade games. So arcade games like went big, but consoles wasn't really that much of wasn't as big of sales. What I know the most about is when it really started to deteriorate, when it came to like the late 90s and then onward, where there would be production companies uh, kind of telling development teams how to make a game, even though the development team were the creative minds behind the initial product. But production companies want to make money. It would go to the market and people wouldn't want to buy it because of popular opinion or popular influence. People would want to have a certain game. So the sequel, if there was one, it sometimes had an entirely different direction. You see that so many times. Speaking of Mass Effect, speaking of Dragon Age, EA got the rights to produce these games, and Dragon Age 2 looks significantly different from the original. And it happened with Mass Effect. Mass Effect 2 looked totally different from the first one. The weapon system, the armor system, the way that everything was in the second game was vastly different. Now, luckily the story was still intact, but a lot of people argue Dragon Age 2 was just empty in comparison to the original, and there's so many different games that are like that that I can't even think of right now. Warcraft, I mean, once they made it an MMO, Blizzard made it an MMO, it just totally changed um, the way that it was, and that's why a lot of people are excited about the vanilla version being released. So it sucks because people have a vision and they want to make a video game, and sometimes can't do that because money is what's more important to production companies. So they'll try and incorporate things that don't make sense to the story just to have more products.
I was thinking when you were talking about it, it's always something that gets me because of the time period that we're in, is that we're getting shipped games. We're getting games on day one where you've got the game, but you're still having to download like a day one patch for like 3 hours. Like, oh, I'm sorry, the game was actually shipped not done, and we're gonna have to fix this. And we're like, when I'm growing up, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis,
Mm,
even onward to like what, PlayStation 1,
mhm.
or give or take, you needed to have the complete game. Like, just give us the complete game.
It's too much to ask for. We can't do that now. And another thing, like about these complete games, whenever you did have just a cartridge, once you beat the game, you oftentimes can unlock certain different aspects that were really cool. Like you could play like an unlockable player or character, or new levels, or Resident Evil was a really good about having extra content if you played it a certain way or under a certain amount of time. And nowadays, you can get all these achievements, sure, but the game is as is. There's nothing more to it
Yeah,
unless
and
you pay
and
more money.
yeah, and now you have things where you buy a game and it's like, oh well, if you want to get like this fancy smashy thing, you can pay money, or maybe you'll have to grind it out for like 100 hours to get it.
Right.
And it's
Mhm.
like, just give me the game. Like,
Mhm.
I bought the game to play it like that. Like, and I think one of the things, like one of the recent games that somebody had brought up, and I was like, oh, was Mortal Kombat 11, where you have to do something to grind to get like either unlocks or like get characters, and it's like, what? I understand the concept of unlocking characters. Like
Mm.
Super Smash Brothers got me to do, Street Fighter. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with working to unlock it. But I'm not cool with where they're like, "Oh, but if you do X, Y, and Z and earn like coins or combat coins or whatever it is, you can get it now." And it's what?
Yeah, that's why Battlefront, which was the Star Wars
Star
game.
Wars Battlefront 2, yeah.
Yeah, that's why everybody was so upset. And that's where I think popular opinion comes in. Popular opinion affected that game so much that they changed the direction of the game. So that's why I think that both of those should be factors in the way that people create games, because it's just like you're saying, we get these half games and then you get to pay extra money just to have a full game.
Yeah, it just and you brought up Battlefront, where like the whole thing was changed. Final Fantasy 14, that MMO was the same way, where it was so poorly received that they went back and like relaunched it. I think it's either months or like a year later, to where they're like, okay, we have fixed all your, hopefully, like mostly all of the problems that you brought up the first time. But it's insane to as a, well, I'm going on 40 this year, where I look back and I'm like, I don't want to invest money into a game where I'm already spending $50-$60
Right.
to get stuff. I want to have that experience, and I'm cool with expansions. I'm cool with DLC because it's not affecting the main game on my side. Like if I can
Exactly.
play the main game, I'm good.
And that goes back to how good a game is based on their story, right?
Right, exactly.
If it's a good story, you don't need to add to it. Ugh. You want to know the first game that actually did DLC though?
Hit me.
LA Noir. And what was it, 2K or Rockstar Games or whichever one did LA Noir? They were the very first to incorporate DLC, like
Really?
official additive, additional to the storyline DLC. Because everybody else has like expansions and stuff like that. So expansions you can buy, but DLC that you can download intentionally to either expand upon the game or anything like that, expansions already existed. I don't know who the first expansion pack was, but um, I don't know. It'd probably like be an MMO like EverQuest or something. But yeah, LA Noir was the official DLC people game.
That's an interesting, as far as like, that's the game that I would not think of for, because it seems like that game has a relatively, intact story
It was
and
one of
game.
those that wasn't necessary. It wasn't a necessary DLC. So you could enjoy the game even still. That's why I enjoyed the game, because it was just a game. But yeah, uh, whenever I was looking at DLC, because I kind of like low key don't like DLC,
Hmm.
because it's just a way to it's like the same game, just like a little bit more in depth, and you're paying $10, $20 for it. Um, I kind of low key don't like to do DLC because of that. And I was looking, researching, and one day I found that LA Noir was the very first one where you could you find that, and I'm like, you LA Noir, I thought I liked you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. What about like you mentioned like the fall of Fallout,
Hmm.
Interplay companies destroyed the makers of Baldur's Gate. I'm not too familiar with it, so I'm just curious, like what was behind it.
Bankruptcy and claims and Bethesda and so many different things. They tried to make all sorts of games, and I can even bring it up just to like make sure that I have everything together. But Fallout was initially made by Interplay.
Hmm.
Baldur's Gate was developed. Baldur's Gate 2 specifically was developed by BioWare and Black Isle Studios. Black Isle Studios is just a subgroup of Interplay. So Interplay still was involved in the creation of Baldur's Gate 2, Shadows of Amn, Throne of Ball, and I don't think it was Siege of Dragonspear. I don't think they were involved, but they've had so many issues getting enough money. They've been in court multiple times, not only for being sued, but also for bankruptcy. But one of the worst things was when they lost the rights to Fallout. Fallout was initially owned by Interplay, and it was created by Interplay and based off of Wasteland that came out in 1988. And it was the rights were kind of, I guess, sold because they lost their rights in 2014, 2013, 2014. So all of the sales for Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, 76, they didn't even have any rights to them. They weren't making any money, and that was the last bit of money that they could get. And they gave all of the ideas of Fallout, the lore, everything to Bethesda, and the Bethesda ends up suing them in the early 2000s. So they have to pay out and get rid of their license. So they have very little income now, and they're the that's their brainchild. Like, that was their child, that was their baby, and they gave all of the ideas to basically another company to make money off of. And that's the kind of thing they thought of this. They made this world, and someone took it. That's crazy to me.
It's mind blowing, and you think about like even the people that were doing like all of the Walking Dead games, and I
Oh
swear,
yeah,
like
Telltale.
Walking Dead, Telltale,
Mhm.
they're Walking Dead and Game of Thrones and Sam and Max and all of the and Back to the Future and all these games.
Borderlands, they even did
Yeah,
Borderlands. Mhm.
they were doing all these games, and now it's like just poof,
Mhm.
poof,
And
gone.
they fired all of their employees without any notice or anything. I think they ended up paying them out. All of the employees that they just ended up sacking, I think they paid them out, like, a lot of money because they needed notification. You can't just fire people like that. It was great. And, like, and I mean, did you even hear why they were fired? Like, I don't even know.
I don't remember. Like I remember it at the time, but I don't remember it now. But it's just a shock because you have these games that are licensed and super popular,
Mhm.
but at the same time, like now they're gone. And I know that somebody picked up that last episode of Walking Dead, so that way the storyline could be completed,
Yeah.
and they hired some of the same people back to do it. But at the same time, it's like holy cow! And then you read about because I go to Kotaku a lot for like just video game stuff and
Okay.
just reading about the crunch of getting these games made and under pressure and the long hours and
Mhm.
I like it blows me away just how much work goes into it that people either don't recognize or don't see it. But like all the notes, like it's like a movie company where like the people in charge with the money are saying, no, we don't really like this. Can you redo it? And it's like I've invested like hundreds of hours in it.
Right. And that's the worst thing about it. You're what do you need me to redo? Okay, so now you're listening to the production company on how they want your game to be. So I feel like there should be more intellectual property rights for game makers. We are getting kind of tossed aside because we're a newer like we're not even recognized as a sport, even though we have Overwatch League and things like that. Games are they're a money making business, but most importantly, they're a creative business. We have talents that need recognition. We need minds that should be paid. You pay scientists for their intellectual property, and I think that you should never, if you create a game, you should never not get paid for the sales of that game. And that's the kind of thing that not a lot of people are talking about. And if I get a moment for a chit chat, that's what I would want. Is just a chance to say, hey, if you make a game, if you're an independent developer and you're independent because you don't want to have the pressure, like you're saying, of time constraints, you don't want the pressure of someone else telling you how to do your own game, this is your brainchild, this is your creation. If you want to be an independent game maker and become possibly much more than that, you deserve more rights. You deserve more money. You deserve more recognition.
Absolutely. I was reading a story as probably a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, and they were talking about the development of that game, Anthem, that came out. That was like
Yeah.
super hyped, and then it didn't really go anywhere. And they said when Anthem was first developed, it was completely different. And then as like the heads of the thing kind of got into it, they're like, well, we need to tone it back. We need to change this. We need to do that. And eventually, like, the game that came out is not what they originally started with at all.
And that's sad. That's sad to hear. And I think it may have even been overshadowed by Apex Legends. I mean, that's something that may have been factored, like may have not been factored in, because once Apex Legend came out, since it was free, it was like the next Fortnite. So it kind of overshadowed, I think, Anthem quite a bit. And from what I've heard, I mean, did you play Anthem? Was it good?
I did not play Anthem. I saw some of my friends that were streamers play it for just a little bit, but I don't think I don't think they've gone back to it.
Dang. Yeah. That just kind of sucks that Anthem was stripped. I mean, it was stripped of all it could have been.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's something where when I make a decision on a video game, is I rarely buy a video game when it comes out now. I don't like, unless it's like Civilization or the next XCOM, then I'll buy
Mm.
it. But anything untested, I wait, and I unfortunately I'm not going to invest like $60. I'll wait for 40 or 30, because I need to make sure that I'm not buying a game where it's just like, I wasn't really interested.
Right. Where beforehand, if you had a meh game, it was okay because you could still talk about it with your friends, and you wouldn't feel like you're getting like you're losing a bill. Like, oh my gosh, I'm either going to have to sacrifice my internet for a month, or I can buy this game, and like that kind of sucks. Like you shouldn't have to wait if you want food this week or if you want a video game just to find out that it's meh. Totally understand.
Totally,
Mm.
totally understand. One thing away from video games that I wanted to ask you about, because I know I saw it on your Twitch area, your Twitch panels, I guess, is the best, easiest way to say. Do you cosplay?
I do. I try. I should say I try to.
Just out of curiosity, because as on this podcast, the number of people I've had on are cosplayers, and I'm curious, just how did you get into cosplay?
Well, my very first cosplay was like 4 years ago, and it was Harley Quinn original, spare me. And, I just wanted to I just wanted to have Halloween on a normal day, and so I dressed up as, like, just, like, very basic Harley Quinn, and my gosh, it's so intoxicating having so many people who like exactly what you like come up and talk to you because you're dressed as something that they love. So you get a chance to identify with a perfectly random stranger and have an amazing conversation about what are the best parts of one of your favorite episodes, or like Harley Quinn. I love Mad Love, and how she beats up Joker in one of the another graphic novel of hers. Like there would be times when I would kind of debate on which is a better, because they scrapped the new 52 version, but
Hmm.
it's just one of those things that got me into it. Is I just randomly dressed up one day and met a bunch of random, amazing, friendly people who are just as into something so awesome as I am, but they didn't have the courage to dress up. And it's just one of those things where I get an opportunity to say, you know what, you should totally do it too, man. Encouraging people to be the hero that they want, or the villain that they want, or experiencing living even for a few hours in that character, and being that character for a few hours, and kind of, I guess, taking away from possible negativity that you have in your life, and just experiencing something that you never can. I guess, I don't know. I like it. That's a very depressing way of explaining it, but no,
Hey,
I like
that's good enough. That's good enough. That's generally what the consensus is that, they want to people want to be those characters for that time period, and want to, like, be somebody that's not them, and hang out with people that are just doing the same thing. Or I get it. I totally
Have you
understand.
cosplayed?
I did once, very poorly.
No. Everyone's
You
gotta
know,
start somewhere.
it's something that I'm interested in, but I have body issues as far as how I feel with my body, so it's not something where I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I would do Thor from Endgame
Yeah.
because I connect to Thor as the way he is represented in that movie.
Oh.
But it's not where I'm like, "Oh, yeah, like, let me be Spider-Man." No, I'm not gonna be Spider-Man because, again, maybe sweatpants version of Spider-Man, I could do that.
You're so
But
silly.
I love getting to talk to people who cosplay because something where it's so out of, like, the comfort zone, but a lot of people just have so much fun with it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you get to meet so many awesome people, and, even if you do feel a certain way, um, I totally understand, and even when I'm wearing some of the outfits, like when I cosplay as She-Hulk, I feel really self-conscious, and one time I did Starfire, and that was the last time because I just felt so self-conscious, and yeah, I wore it twice, and I hated the second time. I was like, "Yeah, I'm never wearing this tiny amount of clothes ever again." Like, we all have body issues. We all have, um, like, things that we don't like about ourselves, but, the thing about cosplaying is anybody can do it, no matter where you come from, not tall, short, different widths, you can cosplay, and people will love you for it. They're gonna go up and talk to you no matter what, and as long as you identify, that's how I like to cosplay, is when you identify with a character, because you're going to portray that character more because you feel more of that character in yourself. I like to cosplay characters that are very much my heroes, like She-Hulk and Harley Quinn, and even I did Fallout Power Armor one time, and Starfire is not as much. I don't identify with her as much, but as long as you enjoy the character, you can be fully immersed in that persona, and it makes you I guess I get so much more confidence because I'm not technically myself. I feel like since I'm different, I have more confidence maybe? I don't
Mhm.
know. I don't know. Isn't that how drugs work? Ooh, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. So you've cosplayed a number of characters, especially like you have iconic ones. Obviously, Harley Quinn is a recent one.
Mm.
She Hulk is one of the ones where it's awesome to see anybody doing She Hulk because I feel She Hulk doesn't get like the just due or
She didn't. She wasn't even mentioned in Defenders. In, Netflix's, The Defenders, wasn't mentioned once, and she is over in, Hell's Kitchen. She is a defense attorney.
yeah, that's the if as we talk about that for just a second, that is one of the shows where it whenever people would say like, "Oh, what Netflix Marvel like what character should Marvel do on Netflix next?" And I was always She-Hulk. Like She-Hulk and Moon Knight would be perfect
Oh,
for
I
that
would
universe.
love any yes. Love it. Love it. But
So one of them, it's sad now that we're not getting any more. Like we get Jessica Jones for a third season, then
right.
that's it. But I'm hopeful. I'm crossing my fingers that we eventually get something with She-Hulk and with Moon Knight at some point because I think those two characters would have worked really well in that setting that they had established for themselves.
Absolutely, and I'm surprised that they brought out like, I really liked, because I have a couple of the comics from the '80s with, um Uh, what was it? Power Man? I actually remember Luke Cage's Power Man.
Yeah, Power Man and Iron Fist. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember they were like a duo, and I remember, getting a few of, comics for, Deadpool, and they were Power Man and Iron Fist, so I can imagine why they would bring in Iron Fist, but, the whole, like, White Knight thing, I mean, like, that whole politics thing,
Mhm.
I remember why he was important in the comics, but, like, the fact that we had the Fantastic Four, she was never mentioned. The new Fantastic Four, she was never mentioned. It was just the Thing. And then now you had a sincere opportunity when we have what was his name? Captain America in the comics. Captain America, he pled guilty for murder because he found himself guilty for murder, but he technically didn't commit it, but he was like indirectly like, I'm responsible because I didn't do anything, blah, blah, blah. So of course, She-Hulk was the one who protected him. She was his defense attorney. And if they could have at any point mentioned her, but I guess they're not ready for a strong lady. Like, I don't know. Like, do you think people will get them confused? Like, I don't understand. I just wanted a She-Hulk so bad. She had so many opportunities to be shown, and she never was.
I know, even like in the Captain America Winter Soldier movie,
Right.
where they're name dropping people and like, oh, Stephen Strange and da da da. Like, come on, Jennifer Walters, like,
Not even. Not
throw
even.
a
Nope.
name out there.
Oh no 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 nope. She's too green. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. It was a sad moment for me. It was a really sad moment for me. And like everyone was like really hyped up about Endgame, but I'm like, yeah, well, the two green ladies ain't in it, so I don't care about it. Like, but I was just being silly because Gamora was gone, and I cosplayed as Gamora one time, and then that was for the premiere of Infinity War. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be Gamora. I have my sword. I made my sword out of paper mache, and it looked awesome, and I was prepared. We went into the movie, even though all of us were dressed up for the premiere, and they killed Gamora in Infinity War, and I'm like, I can't have one green woman in any of the MCU. I can't. They won't let me. They won't let me have a green lady.
You can't win.
I can't win. I lose, or I don't even get mentioned. Damn.
Do you still cosplay now, or is it more of a like when it comes up and you do it?
I try. It's more of the latter though. Like when it comes up, it comes up. But I've been streaming, and the part one for Knights of the Old Republic, I actually cosplayed as a Twi'lek or Twi'lek, however you wanted to say it. So it's sometimes I make occasions.
And that's always a fun thing to do.
Yeah,
Making the time to, just add something fun to it.
it was a lot of fun. I got a lot of comments on it. It was. Did you not get a chance to see that? You may have been
I
busy.
didn't. I think I saw that you were streaming it, but I might have been on somebody else's stream or just jumping around because I have to be very selfish. Like I have to make a choice sometimes between watching somebody stream or like finishing a TV series. And I just finished one recently where I got into it. I was like, I have to watch this. I have to finish the binge.
Which was it? Which was it?
Oh my gosh, Cobra Kai season 2.
How is that? That's on YouTube, right?
It is on YouTube. You can find it.
Mm.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Oh,
Also, 'cause it's on YouTube Red, so you have to pay for
oh.
YouTube to watch it. But it is the show where, and I remember a couple of years ago at like the comic convention, Ralph Macchio and William Zabka's there, right? Like Johnny Lawrence and Danielson. I'm like, man, they haven't done anything, and then all of a sudden they're like, Cobra Kai is coming out on a series for YouTube, and I'm like, what the heck? But the show is the show that you never knew. Like if you love original Karate Kid or any of the Karate Kids with Mr. Miyagi,
Yeah.
if you love any of those movies at all, you have to watch Cobra Kai. It's the show that you didn't know you wanted, you never knew you needed, but once you watch it, you're like, holy shit! Like it is that good. And this season ended on a cliffhanger, and I'm really like, I need to see it. I need to see what happens next.
Well, I'm glad that you watched it all. Yeah, I never really watched those shows or the movies. I watched The Last Dragon. Did you watch that?
That I don't believe I've watched. That's with Bruce Lee, right?
No.
Nope. Oh, I'm incorrect. Dun dun dun.
No, it's okay. I'm incorrect all the time too. But like this, I swear to God, it's like a parody. It has to be a parody. The protege of Prince is in this as like one of the celebrities, and she's dumb gorgeous. And I think it's a parody of like the whole Karate Kid scene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's The Last Dragon. I think it's available on Netflix if you wanted to see it. It's hilarious.
I will have to check for it. 'Cause I was thinking that you're just talking about like Bruce Lee and stuff, and that is one category of movies that I never really got into was like the classic martial arts movies.
Well, I would argue that this is like a a young Frankenstein of karate movie. It's definitely like the Men in Tights of karate movies. So it
Oh,
would be
Men in
perfect for
Tights.
you.
Men in Tights, yes. That's good. That's a good movie too.
Absolutely, like it, and yeah, I'm a sucker for parody. But
Oh my god.
so the cliffhanger. When is the next season come out?
2020. So
Oh, word.
got a year. Yeah, I got a year.
They make us
But
play the waiting game.
yeah, but at least they have the series, so I'm happy. Kari, we've been talking, weaving the Twitch in and out of our conversation since the beginning. Um, and I want to just ask you about Twitch and about stuff. So I guess my first question is, why did you start streaming? Why are you a streamer?
It was just random. Honestly, it was just a random thing. I picked up Overwatch. I bought my boyfriend a computer and he didn't play on it. So I was like, I'm going to play on it. Because it was a really amazing computer. So I started playing Overwatch and I realized how good this computer was. So it kind of like evolved from there. Like, what else can I do with this computer? And then I started looking up like streaming and recommended hardware. And I saw that I have a i7 7700 processor with a 1070 graphics card. Whoa, like this is way more than I was even expecting. So I was like, I can do Overwatch online playing games and I can stream at the same time. Let me make this happen. And I just picked it up and I was like, well, hold on. If I do start streaming, let me find out how to, like, what I need to do. And people are saying, oh, play older games, like, have a niche. And so I started playing games that I never played before because there are so many of them. Like you and I were saying earlier, there's so many different games that when we were kids didn't get an opportunity to play. And even growing up, like even some of the best games came out in the 2000s and the early 2010s, I guess you could call it. So I wanted to get an opportunity to play all these games, but what better way than to show them to other people who may have not played them also? Or maybe I can get a better experience by people who have played them before and want to watch a person that's never played it before. So it was one of those things that I was like, you know what, let me give this a shot. I'll play Baldur's Gate and oh, that's right. I picked up Baldur's Gate for $2 at a thrift store, and that's what got me onto the old games shtick. That's what got me onto it. Weird. Yeah, like I went randomly, and I think that was like, oh, I should start playing older games. That's right. And I frequent thrift stores, so not only do I have like a really old Super Nintendo, I doubt that I'll be able to play that, but it was one of those things. I was at the thrift store, found this game for only $2, intact, all CDs and everything. I was like, you know what? I think I found my niche. I'm gonna play old ass games.
There you go. And you so not only now do you play old games, but you also add in like newer games like the Resident Evil remake, but I mean that's still an old game too.
Yeah, it's a
Technically.
remake, and I mean, did you watched a little bit of it, but did you get a chance to play the original and compare the
N-
two?
No, I've never played any of the Resident Evils ever.
Neither have I. The second one was my very first one, and it was just an amazing game. It was a really amazing game, man. It really was.
That's what I've heard. I've watched a few different people stream, and it's always fun to see like how they approach that game. And it's just like, okay, like, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy is watching on Twitch people's approach to the same game and how they approach it entirely differently.
Right, yeah. That must have been interesting to watch.
So on top of so now, how long have you been streaming for?
Not even a year. I think about a
Wow.
year, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot of
How do
fun.
you how do you prepare for a stream? Like, do you get nervous before you hit that button? Do you like just psych yourself up, or like
Um,
what's your routine before a stream?
well, I do my markups, like whatever I got to do for the makeups, and then make sure that the sound is correct, my mic is set, the sound on it. Like I do like a sound check. I record myself for like a minute in order to make sure that all of the sounds are about level. That way it doesn't sound too much, or I'm not too loud, or the game's too loud and it's overpowering my voice, or I'm not too loud and like shrill and like the octaves are like crazy loud. Like I do a sound check and make sure the game is up, make sure everything is. Like put all of the chats and stuff like Discord and the regular chat for Twitch on my screen. I'll just make sure everything is set up, and normally it takes about like 15, maybe 20 minutes for like the
Okay.
setup. Yeah.
What's been like, I guess, what's been like some of your favorite experiences with streaming? Like, just looking back on your time so far, like what are some of your high points?
Well, one person PM'd me and said that he has been going through a really rough time and that my streams really helped him get past through a lot of that. He was going through employment changes and schedule changes, and I felt really bad. But I felt after he had mentioned that my streams made a difference for him, I was then compelled to do more streaming, and I didn't realize I made that impact. It's just me not getting nervous. I'm at my computer playing games and I just have people kind of chit-chatting with me. That's how I view it. And when he said that it made a difference in his day-to-day, like that kind of hit home for me. I didn't realize I made an impact like that.
That is something. Like, I know watching other streamers where they have and it's always good when there's active chats, because I enjoy getting to be a part of active chat rooms too.
Yeah.
But it's like there's definitely been a lot of people that I personally follow where it's like the chat, the community is just so tight and so nice to each other and just so supportive, and like, you get that feedback from the person that you're watching too, and it's just, people pause their games and like just talk for minutes, not, I was going to say hours and hours, but it's really like, 15-20 minutes where they'll stop the game and just be like, hey, let's talk about this. And like it's been a really good, I don't, I guess, a good experience. Like, you watch YouTube videos and a lot of it's just like, it's not that same experience of having a community and getting to like have real time interaction with the person that you're watching and everything.
That's why I prefer Twitch, because I'm not I'm not just gaming just to game. I'm I'm I have that with everyone, and it's people are going to my stream for each other, because there are so many people that need that. I mean, I need that. I mean, everyone needs community. Everyone needs validation. You're going through something. We want to make sure that you're okay. And that's awesome that some streamers take the time to talk, because we all need that.
Absolutely. And it's something where like after the stream, even if like I'm only there for a little bit, it's like, man, like, I look back with fondness of not only like the person that's playing and streaming, but like that the group of people that you're with, and it's like forming this like new family dynamic or friendship dynamic that you don't get on other social media platforms at all.
I totally agree, and that's what it takes me back to how we need recognition. Everybody needs recognition, and the fact that we don't get recognition as gamers, like we're teased and ridiculed for dressing up. Like, if you go to school dressed up as something, you're going to get ridicule, but you're going to be expressing how much you care about a video game or a comic book character, and you get ridiculed for that. Like, I remember getting teased when I first was like, "Oh, I dress up." Like, "Oh, what?" Like on Halloween, but it's not Halloween. Oh, you're so weird. We need the fact that there are people that go through that and experience that. And on Twitch, we have a community of people who are sometimes ridiculed for the things that they simply enjoy. I I I just the fact that we have that, it means the world. It means the world to me that we have that outlet, that we can share our experiences, that we can share how sometimes how we feel like a black sheep. We can share that
Mhm.
together.
Absolutely. And I know, like, even like I look back and it's one of the things like in high school is always like, oh man, like, yeah, it's definitely like that little subset of
Nerds. Yeah.
nerdy geeky people, and I was part of the Star Trek fan club, and I wore my Star Trek uniform to like the Star Trek conventions. And
Yeah.
it's like I love doing it, but then you get and of course it's like that high school experience where the way that people perceive, and it's like, okay, like I understand, but you don't have to be all you know
In your
garbagey.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, it's something where I look back, I'm like, you know what? I'm still cool with that. Like I like the person that I am, and I like the person that I was back then too.
But not everybody has that
Yeah.
mentality, and that's why we see so many reports about bullying and things like that. It's because some people don't have that confidence that you're luckily equipped with. Some people are tormented all their lives and end their lives very abruptly because they don't have the outlets like Twitch can provide.
Hmm.
So we dressed up, or we brought a lunchbox that had like SpongeBob on it, or SpongeBob was cool. SpongeBob was neat. Like if you like football, you're totally fine. If you like this TV show or this kind of thing, like, oh yeah, well, that's really cool. I like that stuff too. But if you liked Final Fantasy growing up, oh man, yeah, oh yeah, you're just chastised. Oh, you like Final Fantasy? Final. They even call them like weebs now. Now there is a certain level of weeaboo that like I feel like even within our own community, we're like, dude, you need to chill. But like we shouldn't really do that because this should be a welcoming community because for so many different areas we're not welcome to express ourselves and we're not able to talk about the comics the way that we like them. It looked really nerdy if you were at a comic shop, and now it's becoming more and more mainstream, and I feel Twitch is one of the many outlets that you can use to feel normalized, like what you like is okay.
Hmm.
The fact that you were dressing up as Star Trek characters, that's heckin' awesome, and I want everyone to share that amazing experience.
Absolutely. And it's definitely something where I know like my oldest is going into middle school in August. I'm like, oh gosh, like because I remember my middle school, and middle school is always like that one transition period of we just got to get them through it, and
Just
oh
truck through.
gosh.
So it was bad for you too?
Yeah, yeah, middle school. Like I had moved. This is completely random, but like I was in sixth grade in middle school in Canada, and then we moved from Canada to Florida,
Ooh.
and seventh and eighth grade was very difficult.
What part of Florida?
Uh, my dad was stationed in Panama City,
Oh, no
so
kidding! I was in
so
Pensacola. That's like
yeah,
45
and
minutes away.
yeah, I went to college in Pensacola.
No
So
kidding! Wait,
yep,
we've talked about this, haven't we?
I think so
I think
because
so.
I think someone in your chat had joined and was from maybe no, maybe I think it's a different chat where someone had come in. They were like living in Pensacola or Panama City. It's like, hey, that's where I'm from. But
No
um,
kidding.
yeah, I lived in Panama City and then went to school at University of West Florida and graduated
Yeah.
from there.
Oh my gosh. So that must have been difficult. I mean, you uprooted all of your like you went away from all your established elementary school friends. Like that must have been tough.
Yeah, I mean, my dad was in the military, so we moved every 2 to 3 years. But
Mm.
like, Canada was wonderful, and I had like my middle school people and played ice hockey. And then you move from like I moved to a city that there's no ice at all
Ever.
ever.
It barely stays iced in the freezer. That's how hot it is.
Exactly, exactly. So I'm just like, yeah, my middle school was not the greatest, but I did come out of it with like a good close friend that is like just that awkward time. It's like once you hit ninth grade, it's like, okay, like we're kind of settling into like the clicky things that we're gonna just kind of stay with for a little bit, but
Yeah.
it is okay.
Yeah. And
It's
and
okay.
and that's why I really appreciate things like Twitch and YouTube, and it really validates no matter where you are. You traveled from Canada to Florida, but you still have that outlet. It's because of the internet that we have so many different ways to express ourselves, and as long as it's not negative, I'm cool with it. And
Exactly.
you didn't have that, and neither of us had that a whole lot growing up.
Oh gosh, I had AOL when AOL was just coming out. Like
The CDs, man.
the CD, yeah, like dial up and the modem
Ooh.
noise, and we had a dedicated second phone line just so we could go on.
I
And
was just about to say, like, "Oh, yeah, get off the internet, I gotta make a phone call," type thing.
yep, yep, yeah, yeah. I'm way back. Like I go way back to like original AOL and
Mm.
all of that jazz. So
Nothing wrong with that, we gotta start somewhere.
exactly. I mean, now the kids have everything at their fingertips. It's just like, man, back in my day,
Right? Yeah. "Oh, we used to have water
if
for our engines, we didn't even
if
have
if
petroleum."
if we missed the TV show, sometimes you never saw that episode again.
Unless you, like, saw it on a rerun, like, on a different channel entirely.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like, every time.
I do have one final question because I'm curious.
Mm.
How do you pick which games you play? Like,
Well,
do you have a schedule or a list of like games that you want to play, and then you try to like balance them out, like theme wise, or how do you do it?
honestly, based on donation like, the donations, people will donate a game to me, and I'm like, "Okay, we'll play this after this one," and that's how it's been for, yeah, Resident Evil 2, I actually purchased. But all of the other games that I've streamed, like, Pathfinder and The Witcher 3, um Dead Space, and like all else that I've streamed has been donations. So that's how I choose. Like, oh, you guys want to see this next time? Okay, cool. Oh, you want to see this? Awesome. Let's try and have two games at the same time because I don't want to be too stretched out to where the next time I touch a game, I don't know where I was last time. So I try to keep it like two games minimum at the same time, and I can alternate depending on what I'm feeling like. If I want something more like laid back, I'll probably go for one, and maybe I'll have a laid back game and then I'll have a more intense game. I'll try to keep it that way.
Okay, that. I mean, I know when I try to stream, it's like, okay, am I in the mood for just like casual, relaxed, or do I want to like get into like a story, or do I want one where I have to do voices? It's just
Right.
I just got to get a feel for it, especially since like I stream during the day where like half the time I'm working and looking away, and I've got to make sure that I want to give my attention to, if I'm doing a game, I want to do it properly.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Undivided attention, right?
That's right, or at least 90% attention and 10% something else, something.
What do you like to stream?
I stream. Well, I did XCOM 2. That was the
Mm.
first game I completed on the stream. Um, I started streaming BattleTech, but then I'm not too familiar with the BattleTech world, so I kind of put that on hold. I've been doing Sims 4 a lot because that's really easy to just, bounce around there, as far as just okay, they need to go to the bathroom, they need to go do this, they need to go do that. I did Dream Daddy, but I haven't finished it yet, which
Dream
is
Daddy.
yeah, it's a visual novel type where you're a dad to a high school daughter, and you move into this cul-de-sac all of other dads that are single,
Oh,
and it's like
geez.
you go on like these dates, and it's a fun story. I just haven't finished it to like pick who I'm going to do my third date with, because once you hit the third date, that's like the end,
Really?
and then you can start over and like go down different paths and try to get your dates, like, because they grade your dates after you have like your first date and second date. Like grade A or grade B or grade C, and depending on what you've previously
Oh,
gotten and your other choices, it kind of like establishes whatever your ending is going to
I think
be.
that sounds similar to that one game that you could play on the Nintendo. It was like a Japanese title. The only reason why I know about it is because of that one game the TV show High Score on Netflix. Do you know what I'm talking about? It sounds like the premise of a very similar game.
I mean, there's definitely been games out there, I think, that have the same kind of style, but
Yeah.
Dream Daddy is definitely something that's like is out of my routine, but I really enjoyed playing it.
Well, that's good. Did you go back and see how many other broads you could bag?
No, I have not finished it. I've got to finish like the first playthrough, and then I'll probably play through it again with like stream, like if people that are watching, I'll let them make the choice rather than
Oh,
me make the choice.
that'll be hilarious. Oh yeah, you said that you didn't want to go through the third one. I do that sometimes too. Not complete a game just because you don't want to complete it yet because you want to hold on to the fact that you haven't completed yet.
Yeah.
I do that with Skyrim. I just played all of the side quests. I didn't even talk to Alduin yet. I just went everywhere, like killed all the automatons in the dwarven ruins and all sorts of got Dawnstar, all of that. Like I try to complete everything else. I do that with Fallout too. But this game doesn't sound like it's like an open world situation.
No, it is totally not open world. You just click on, menu items, and then it comes up and has like whatever's going on, and you're interacting, and like, yeah,
Oh.
it's a cool game. You should look it up
Have
at
you ever
some
played
point.
Catherine?
No, but I've seen people play that game, and I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. It's just some of it's just out there for me.
What? I think it's all supposed to be like satire. Like it's supposed to be funny, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I
Like
think.
I saw one part where like somebody, like they're trying to jump the person like on this like weird platformy thing, like where platforms show up,
Yeah.
and yeah.
So it's like half RPG, half puzzle game. So you get to
Yep.
like and it's a really cool concept because you don't see that a whole lot.
Yeah, it's definitely something where I don't know if I'd ever play it, but again, time wise, it's just
Mm.
I look at my time, I'm like, okay, like I'd love to play Uncharted, but I don't have the time.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just watch someone play Uncharted for me. The power of Twitch.
Oh yeah, the power of Twitch. Isn't the next Uncharted coming out pretty soon?
I have no idea. I thought they were done, but I could be mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know where I heard it. I think that they're trying to come up with a sequel that features possibly a daughter, I think. I don't
Well,
know.
that came out.
Oh, did it?
That
Oh,
came out. Yeah, that came out already.
I'm so
Where
behind.
is
Okay.
like I think it's like a special release or like downloadable, like I don't know if it's like a separate disc that you could buy, or just like on the download where you can just download and buy it and play through it. But yeah, they did that with the daughter. But
Okay.
maybe they're gonna make it with Uncharted Next Generation.
I don't
I
know.
don't know. Well, Cardia, I do want to say, number one, thank you for coming on and being a part of the podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure getting to hang out on your Twitch channel.
Well, thanks
And
for
for
hanging
those,
out.
it's a lot of fun, and I want to say, I want to give a special thanks to Jazz Elves for doing the raid that introduced me to you, because I hung out in his stream a lot, and it's been fun seeing like other streamers, but it's totally awesome getting to be a part of your stream too.
Well, I think I knew Jazz Elves because of Pro and Pro Gaming. I think
Yep.
it's like, yeah, and Pro Gaming, I actually know him in real life. Like our friends know
Oh,
each other. Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
yeah, it's like a connection thing. So thank you so much for enjoying yourself. Like I don't know. Like thank you for coming back so many times and making the stream much more enjoyable because it's definitely not the same when it's without you and without
Without you, na 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 na.
I don't even know that song.
So, for people that have listened to this podcast and they want to find your stream, or they want to find you elsewhere on the internet, what are the best places for them to do so?
Well, thank you for asking. It's on Twitter. It's just Cardia Plays, at Cardia Plays on Twitter. And I try to do more on Discord. And Discord, my name is Cardia Plays, capital C, capital P, number 8875. You can check out our Discord there. And I post way more on Discord than I do on Twitter. But most importantly, hang out with us on Twitch, just like Tails has, and just like Jazz Elves has, and check out Jazz Elves. And I'm going to check out when you stream too. I didn't realize that you streamed.
I do sometimes in the mornings, but it's going to be less now because it's summer vacation. I have the kids, so
Right. You said you
the
had
kids
three,
are home.
right?
I do, and one gets to go to summer camp all summer. The other two get to stay home.
Oh, okay. And is that the your eldest?
Yes, because middle school has a free summer camp the entire summer. So
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Well, I think it's something that just happened this year. Like they got some wonderful grant that like covers, like you don't even have to pay for it. Like you just, as long as you signed up and got your form in that time, like you're good. So
That's
he
awesome.
he's got like middle school summer camp orientation next week. Then he's got a couple weeks, and then he has like he's joining band, so he's gonna
Which
be
instrument?
euphonium, the mini tuba.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yep.
Oh yeah, trombone or not trombone, baritone. Euphonium is equal to baritone. I played that in high
Okay.
school too.
He went in wanting to play the trombone, could not make the sound, like because they do they test everybody on like all the instruments that you're interested in
Right.
and score you. Uh, he couldn't really do it, but euphonium, the bassoon or no, euphonium, oboe,
Mm.
and the flute, shockingly, like he was able to do it. So he chose the euphonium, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, it's where he gets to go to band camp for 2 weeks at a different middle school, and then go back just for like regular middle school hangout with people that are going to be at his school, and hopefully, crossing fingers, making a good friend or two.
Yeah, band is one of those things that like everybody needs community, and band you will not find a better community. Band, they're just amazing. I was in band from middle school to high school. I loved it, and I'm sure your son will love it too. It's just an amazing experience.
Well, I'm crossing my fingers, but I want to just say, thanks for coming on and giving up your time and hanging out with me on my podcast and my little thing that I do. And I really want, if people are listening to this by this point, go follow Cardia, because it's a lot of fun.
Thank you
A lot of
so
fun.
much for inviting me, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so it was just a really nice experience, and you're an awesome dude to talk to, so it was all awesome.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Tales from the Fandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.